Geography 12, Geography and History. Geographic features and environmental issues have influenced historical events. Examples of geographic features that have influenced historic events include the fall line, the Cumberland Gap, westward expansion in the United States, weather conditions at Valley Forge and the outcome of the American Revolution, the role of ocean currents and winds in exploration by Christopher Columbus. And we've looked at other examples in class. Today we'll focus on the examples mentioned specifically in the Alabama CCRS standards. Environmental issues that influenced historic events include boundary disputes, ownership of ocean resources, and revitalization of downtown areas. Columbus. Christopher Columbus, who lived from 1451 to 1506, sought a trade route to India and China in 1492 by sailing west across the Atlantic Ocean. He is credited with discovering the trade winds that circle the Atlantic, speeding his ships on their journey. He underestimated the size of the world and mistook the Americas for Asia. He apparently died in the belief that he had found Asia. The Cumberland Gap. The Cumberland Gap is an opening in the Appalachian Mountains created by a meteor strike 200 to 300 million years ago. Daniel Boone explored the Cumberland Gap. Pioneers used the Cumberland Gap to move through the mountains and settle in Tennessee and the surrounding area. Valley Forge. George Washington's troops sheltered at Valley Forge in Pennsylvania during the winter of 1777 to 1778. Conditions were cold and miserable. Food was in short supply. Disease killed many. Nevertheless, Washington guided his army through the difficult time and later to victory in the Revolutionary War against Britain. The fall line. A fall line is the imaginary line connecting a series of waterfalls. The line indicates where the continental uplands descend to the coastal lowlands. The Appalachian fall line, the one near the Appalachian Mountains that runs through the eastern and southern United States, became the location for mills that used the waterfalls to power equipment before electricity was harnessed. For example, the water would fall over the wheel would turn gears, the gears might spin a really big saw, and you would have a sawmill there to turn logs into usable boards to make timber into lumber. Westward Expansion. The British colonies on the east coast of North America rebelled against Britain partially because of the Proclamation Line. The line banned westward expansion beyond the Appalachian Mountains as part of a peace treaty with the Native Americans at the end of the French and Indian War in 1763. The British told the Native Americans who had sided with the French and some of their own Native American allies, "We'll keep the settlers east of the Appalachians. The land west of the Appalachians will still belong to the Native Americans." The English settlers on the East Coast were very unhappy with this. They would try to expand into the area. The British would come in and break up their little camps or towns and push them back to the east. The Treaty of Paris of 1763 ended the French and Indian War, known as the 7 Years' War in Europe. And the Treaty of Paris contained the part about the Proclamation Line. Westward Expansion. The United States aggressively pursued a policy of westward expansion under the theory of manifest destiny. The theory held that it was the destiny of the United States to expand to the Pacific Ocean. The Louisiana Purchase of 1803 added all the lands drained by the Mississippi River to the United States. The land was purchased from France during Napoleon's reign. The United States annexed the Republic of Texas in 1845. The Republic of Texas had rebelled against Mexico in the Texas Revolution of 1835 to 1836. The Mexican government objected and the Mexican War ensued in 1846. The United States won in 1848 and annexed the northern third of Mexico, including California. Many of these southwestern states, from Texas to California up into the Rockies, were formerly claimed by Mexico. Today they are part of the United States. Boundary disputes. History includes many wars fought over national boundaries. The Mexican War was one example of a boundary dispute. Nations may peacefully negotiate treaties and purchase land from other nations to resolve boundary disputes. Ocean resources. The 1982 Law of the Sea Convention created international law concerning ownership of ocean resources. International law recognizes waters near the coast of nations as territorial waters. The high seas are international waters owned by no country. Downtown revitalization. Many downtown areas fell into disuse as urban populations moved out to the suburbs in the 1950s and 1960s. As more families could afford cars, the families would move out to the suburbs and drive into work every day in the city. The United States seeks to revitalize downtown areas through programs and grants offered by several federal agencies, such as the Department of Transportation and the Department of Agriculture. Downtown dwellers may have less of a commute to work and therefore generate less pollution and use less energy because they live near their workplace. In conclusion, we have examined geographic features and environmental issues that have influenced historical events. Geography always exerts influence on the events in an area. And of course, we've looked at many other events, but we want to highlight a few examples that were mentioned specifically in the standards.